minutes.
Thank you. We're pleased to court, counsel. Thank you for your time and attention thus far.
Sorry.
I ask that you accept the opening statement, kind of like a preview. You know, you catch on TV before you go see the movie. Not to be silly, but just an idea. It's an opening statement of what we believe the evidence will show. What you hear from witnesses and receive in the form of exhibits are the actual evidence. To kind of give you an idea of what's to come. And we believe the evidence will show that there was a Cinco de Mayo party at some friends of Barry, and Chris knew from another fellow he knew, and they got together, and that's where maybe Chris and Barry first met and got in contact. And you'll hear at that time the severe heart issues Barry was having, and the medical issues, and then soon after Chris moves in to the apartment. And you'll hear it was very common because Barry was so concerned about his heart issues and medical situation that they got up like super early, 4 or 5 in the morning, and went out walking from all the way, if you see a map, you'll see like Beach Parkway all the way down to where the Starbucks is, and just multiple miles. And you'll hear later about going to this cruisers bar where they hung out, and you'll hear walking home from there, so these long distance walks were not uncommon. And it was Barry trying to get his health back in order, and that they walked home that evening. And as said, you'll see videos showing them kind of walking up Del Prado, going back. And then you'll hear before that, when they were at cruisers, that there wasn't any big scene or anything. They just kind of left. Like they were there for a few hours. And then there's a couple different parties there. The bartender, they kind of knew, and different people that knew Barry, knew Chris. And may have left a little bit different time, but you'll see them on video right next to each other, walking up Del Prado and getting home. And then you'll hear later from a neighbor that heard some kind of noises. And was it Barry saying, "I'm leaving, I'm tired of this idiot"? And Chris saying, no, don't leave. And Barry leaving because he was still getting on these grinder apps and some other app called Sniffies to still meet other men and date. Because Chris wasn't somebody he had known for years or anything. He had met at the party, and then he pretty quickly moved in, and he was kind of helping take care of him. You'll hear he wasn't working. Barry gave him some cards, said feel free to use them. If anybody asks, Barry said you can use it. And so the use of the cards he was allowed to do. And then you'll hear about Airbnbs. You'll even hear before this night of cruisers, they had gone to one of their friends, Miguel. He's in a relationship with Tom, and Tom's birthday, and they rented an Airbnb to have the party at. And then you'll hear about Chris, and we believe the evidence will show that at some point an Airbnb was rented and it wasn't in the best condition, and Chris lost his account. So then he started using his brother Tyler's account. And so when he rented the Airbnb to leave Barry's place and say, well, I guess we're breaking up or this is over, maybe I should go elsewhere, that this account was used, but nobody's trying to hide anything about who's there. He was in constant contact with the lady when he went out to Clewiston. She saw him. He was out exercising. There's nothing nefarious going on. Then you'll hear when Chris and Miguel talk, and the idea about reporting Barry missing comes up, and then that's done, and you'll hear that. And then you'll just hear a lot of speculation as to things after the fact. And so what I ask you to do is wait before you make any formulated or fixed opinions until you've heard everything in this case. And not try to take everything days after the fact to speculate, what may or may not have happened. But you will, for a fact, hear about very serious heart issues, and you heard about his weight loss, and you'll hear that from his friends and family in Diddy. And at the end of this trial, we'll come up and ask you, we'll argue to you that the evidence has not proven that any murder was committed, and there's no proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We'll ask you to find the defendant not guilty.
Okay, defense counsel, a much shorter than the prosecution. Remember, they have no burden. Mr. Davis is cloaked in the presumption of innocence. Is this one of those cases where if you're on the defense side, do you say, you know what, Your Honor, thank you, we'll defer opening statements until after we hear the state's evidence? Let me ask, criminal defense attorney and former DA, Matthew Mangino, in the studio with me. Okay, so what would you do if you were that defense attorney? Would you do that?
Well, Julie, I don't like delayed or deferred opening statements. I think opening statements are so important. And you know, some experts will tell you that people make up their mind after the opening statement, and then they listen for evidence to fill in the blanks. Maybe I would have been a little more dynamic. Maybe I would have laid a little more out for the jurors, but I think it's so important at this early stage to make an impression on a jury that you're in command, that you know the facts of the case and what you intend to elicit from the witnesses who are going to be called in this case.
Right, I'm with you. And you know what, you hit the nail on the head with the word command. What we saw seemed to me kind of a lack of command of the case. It wasn't purposeful, it wasn't deliberate, it didn't come out stinging, you know, and that's really what you have to do. Or you might as well just defer, you know, wait, because if you're not gonna make sure you assert your position and do it well and with confidence, then it kind of sets a jury up for, as you said, you know, a bad first impression.
Right. I mean, if you're not passionate about it, if you don't believe in your client, how do you expect a jury to believe in your client? So I spend so much time when I try a case preparing my opening statement because I want the jury to believe I believe in my client if I expect them to believe in my client.
Exactly. Jurors look for that. They really do. They look for that. And you know, talking to them after the fact, sometimes they'll tell you, I could tell how much you believed in your case. We appreciated how passionate you were. Yeah, because they want to feel good about their decision and sleep at night knowing that they got the right person.